नौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। रूपं दृश्यं लोचनं दृक् तदृश्यं दृक्तु मानसं दृश्याधिवृत्तय साक्षी दृगेव न तु दृश्यते। नोदेति नास्तमेत्येषा न वृद्धिं याति न क्षयं स्वयं विभात्यथ अन्यानि भासयेत् साधनं विना। अस्ति भाति प्रियं रूपं नाम चेत्यं शपञ्चकम् आद्यत्रयं ब्रह्मरूपं जगद्रूपं ततोऽद्वयम्। 31, 32 and 33. विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थि छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे। अवच्छिन्नचिदाभास तृतीयः स्वप्नकल्पितः विज्ञेयस्त्रिविधो जीवस्तत्राद्य पारमार्थिकः। अवच्छेदः कल्पितः स्यात् अवच्छेदकल्पितः स्यादवच्छेद्यं तु वास्तवम्। तस्मिन् जीवत्वमारोपात् ब्रह्मत्वं तु स्वभावतः। So let's do verse number 32 and 33 today, and we won't spend that much time on it because I think from now on the verses are more of a revision, and so therefore we don't need to spend as much time on each one of them, unfolding them and explaining them. So let's spend some time on these two, and then we will do meditation after that. Okay? So as we said, that the text itself, the main, the entire explanation of the Atma and so on is finished in verse number 4 from 1 to 31. That is the complete section. And now this is, as it often happens, perhaps somebody decided that we should add some more verses to it to clarify, to confirm. So it's like that. Oftentimes in our acharyas, they will not even teach 32 to the rest of them. Anyway, you know that by now. So let's look at very quickly 32 and 33. So he says in 32, avachinna chidabhasaha tritiyaha swapnakalpitaha vigyayas trividho jivaha tatra adyaha paramarthikaha. Look at the word meaning. So avachinnaha. Avachinnaha means one which is seemingly conditioned or limited. Or you can even say that it is apparently, seemingly or apparently. The main point is that it can never be really conditioned, but it can be seemingly conditioned. So here the avachinna, this is what is called the avachinna vada. One way of explaining how the unlimited becomes limited is called the avachinna vada. So the classical example, as we have seen, is that of a space becoming a room space. So this is the roomness, the walls are the upadhi that makes an unlimited space appear as though it is limited. This is what is called avachinna. Then the chit abhasaha. So this is number one. In fact, let's go to the second line first. He says, Vigyayaha trivido jivaha. May you know, it is to be known, Vigyayaha means it is to be understood, that the jiva, the individual like you and I, are one of three types. So this is the subject of the Mandukya Upanishad, which we had just finished in the advanced class before we took up Brahma Sutra. So there we saw that a proper analysis of the individual means that there are three of them, not just one. Because our life's experiences are that we are a single individual. Throughout our life we are one person, and there is nothing else. Everything else is just a memory or something, but I am the single one. Vedanta says that's not true. If just means that you have not analyzed it properly. If you just take things for what they are without a proper enquiry, then you can come up with a wrong conclusion. So this is a wrong conclusion. In fact, there is a very famous statement which is avicharita siddham dvaitam. Avicharita siddham dvaitam. Dvaitam means a sense of duality. Dvaitam means duality. Advaitam means non-duality. So sense of duality, a conclusion of duality, is avicharita siddham. Avicharita siddham means that it is established due to non-enquiry. So this is the difference between Brahma and Prama. Prama means valid knowledge and Brahma means invalid knowledge. And what are the conditions for them? Brahma means that it is some kind of a knowledge, it is some conclusion, all right. But if you look into it, it recedes into nothingness. Brahma means that if you look into it, it disappears. Brahma, on the other hand, in the beginning may not look very clear, but if you go close to it, if you inquire into it, it becomes clear. Just the opposite of Brahma. Those are the lakshana of Brahma and Prama. Very simple. Sometimes you see that, from a very long distance somebody is coming and you don't know what it is. And so it is very vague in the beginning. But as it comes closer, you say, aha, that's that person. That's called Prama. And Brahma is just the opposite, where it appears to be, so for example, there's so many examples, but look, the solidity of this table. The table looks very solid. It is not solid because if you look into it, you find that it is nothing but a bunch of electrons flying together. In fact, 99.9% of that is space alone. So this is called Brahma. So these are the two things. So now we think we are a single person because it is avicharita. It has not been looked into. If you look into it, you find you are three of them. And after the three, then you will say you are none of those three. You are somebody completely different altogether. Anyway, for the time being, we will accept the closer inquiry, which is not one person but three people. That's what this verse is saying. He says, Vigyeyaha trividho jivaha. May you inquire and understand that there are three jivas, not one. And what are the three jivas? This is given in the first line. First one is avachinna jiva. Avachinna jiva. The second one is chidabhasaha jiva. Chidabhasaha jiva means one which is reflected. They call it reflected jiva. And the third one is swapna kalpita. Swapna kalpita. So swapna kalpita means one which is imagined in a dream. Okay, swapna kalpita. So the first one is what is called. So then it says, no, not is called. What it says is, then let's finish the sentence meaning of it. So we've pretty much done so far. We have gotten avachinnaha, chidabhasaha, and swapnakalpitaha, which is the third one, tritiyaha. Vigyeyaha trividho jivaha. Then it says tatra adyaha paramarthikaha. The first one is called paramarthikaha. Okay. First one means avachinnaha is paramarthikaha. So this is how it goes. So there are three kinds . Just one second. I want to see Swamiji's explanation of. All right, so here goes. So there are three of us. At least there are three different, there are not three of us, there are three manifestations of the same person. What is the first one? The first one is you are the consciousness awareness. So this is what is called Jivatma. Your consciousness awareness, but the way you look at it is you are enclosed in this body and mind enclosure, upadhi. This is the paramarthika one. So it's exactly like this. The example is you are the unlimited space, but you only see it through as a limited room space. You're still space. You're quite right. This, you say that I'm awareness, I'm awareness, I'm awareness. But if somebody to ask you, where are you? Will say, I'm right here. The correct answer is that you are not here, you are. You see, when you say, I am here, you've already enclosed it. You have made a condition out of it. So there we can say this is just a small difference. Really speaking, there is no real difference between space, no difference at all between space and room space. So similarly here also between Paramatma And Jivatma, there is no real difference. This is the Paramarthika Satyam. But now comes the second one, which is Chidabhasaha Jivaha. So Chidabhasaha Jivaha means that your thoughts are not as a Paramarthika Satyam, but as a conditioned reality which is conditioned by your body-mind complex. So there it says there is a reflection as though there is a reflection. So you see there are two ways of explaining this interesting phenomena. One is what is called Avachinnavada. The other one is Pratibimbavada. Pratibimbavada means it is reflected consciousness. So one is enclosed consciousness and the other one is a reflected consciousness. So the reflected consciousness example also is a very good one, where you are looking at yourself in a body of water. Your reflection in the water is you, no doubt about it. It's not somebody else's reflection, it is your reflection. It looks like you. But it is your reflection, not you. It kind of behaves like you. So if you raise your hand, then the reflection also raises the hand. If you were to do like this, the reflection also does like this. If you have to turn left, then the reflection turns right. So there is a problem. It doesn't completely show you because you can feel your back. The reflection cannot feel its back. You can speak, but the reflection cannot speak. So there are some shortcomings, but more or less you are the reflection. Same thing happens in our case. I am reflected in my body-mind complex. That's the reflecting surface. You can take it as a reflecting surface or you can take it as an enclosure, either one. But it gives rise to different experiences of life. So the second experience of life is that of an imperfect you, which is not you, it's a reflected you, but it makes you imperfect. Even the first one also made you imperfect, but the second one makes you completely imperfect. Now you are subject to all the things that are happening in the reflection surface. So your reflection, if the water is moving, then you're also moving. If the water gets dirty, you also get dirty. Exactly the same thing is there. If the mind is angry, then you become angry. If the body is hurt, you become hurt. You cannot say, oh, there is a body that is hurt. No, you are hurt. And the real you are not hurt, but the reflected you are hurt. So this is what is called, the first one is called Paramarthika Sat, Paramarthika Satyam, or you can even say Paramarthika Jiva. Paramarthika Jiva. The second one is called Vyavaharika Jiva. Vyavaharika means transactional Jiva. So this is exactly right. We are actually in our waking world, we are Vyavaharika Sat. Because people will say, how are you? You'll say, well, I'm okay. Say, what do you mean by you're okay? But, well, I'm not very happy. That means the state of the mind. Or you can say I'm getting old, which is the state of the body. All those kinds of conditions you taken on to yourself. This is what transacts you with others. So this is called Vyavaharika Sat. So now we have covered both of them, Paramarthika and Vyavaharika. Then you have another one which is called Pratibhasika Sat. Pratibhasika you. And so here, just to give you some color on this, when we have a dream, we take on a new identity, which is not Vyavaharika. It is not Paramarthika, it is not Vyavaharika. Why is it not Vyavaharika? Because that transaction, it cannot be done with anyone else. Your identity as a dreamer is all within yourself. You can't even tell someone next morning. They won't have time for your dreams. You don't have time for anybody else's dreams. You just dream yourself. This is all internal. So this is one way of looking at is what is called Pratibhasika. Pratibhasa means it just feels like it, but there is no truth to it. It's called Pratibhasa. So Pratibhasika means one which is imagined. And by the way, I would say that the Pratibhasika Jiva not only is limited to the dream, it is even prevalent in the waking world. So in the waking world, you are both a Vyavaharika Jiva as well as a Pratibhasika Jiva. How? The Vyavaharika Jiva is something that everyone agrees upon. You also agree with others. Like if you are getting old, you also see it, the others also see it. It's not that the other one, there might be some small differences. They might see you a little older than how you see yourself, but they're more or less the same. This is Vyavaharika Sat. But suppose you have some imagined ideas about yourself, and the others don't share that. That would become Pratibhasika Jiva. Like what? Supposing you say, I have a feeling people don't like me. So you have this conclusion, people don't like me. I am an unliked person. Now, others may not share that. This is your own bias of some kind. Or it's just the opposite. You may feel that I am much superior to everyone else. Much superior. I am somebody very special. The others may not agree with that. To you, for them, you look like an ordinary person. There's nothing special about you. Yeah, you are a unique person. Everybody is a unique person. But to say you are above everybody else, this is also called Pratibhasika Sat. So anyway, this is just, so we have sort of covered this in the previous verses, but this gives some new color to that. So now quickly going into the next verse, and then I will finish doing this and we'll do meditation. Here just looking at a very nice question that Swami Viditatmanandaji pointed out on page number 219. He says, okay, how can this jiva be Brahman? how can this jiva be Brahman? So, in other words, Brahman is defined as one which is unlimited and unaffected by anything in the world. Unlimited, not limited by the world. This is what it is. It's just total infinity. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Purnam means fullness. There is nothing lacking. Anyway, we'll go into that some other time. And so this is what Brahman is. So what is said is, even though you have a manifestation of the three jivas, you are really not any one of them. See, right now on verse number 32, we ended up spending a lot of time talking about you are not one jiva, you are three jivas. Now we are saying actually you are none of those three jivas. Isn't this a contradiction? First of all, you spent a lot of time telling me that I am not one jiva, I am three jivas. Now you are telling me that I am none of those three jivas. This is a contradiction. How are you saying this? In fact, the intermediate step of going from one jiva to three jivas to no jiva is very logical. Actually, is very logical. How? Because if you were stuck on, if you were firmly convinced that you are only one jiva, everything else is wrong, you may not have the freedom to inquire any further. Because you are stuck on it. You are saying, this is me. This is exactly what happens to us. What happens to everyone until we start inquiring that we are a single person. There is no need to do anything else. Just leave it to myself. I've got my own problems and I will try to solve it. If not, then so be it. It's okay. This is the latest thing that how these language changes. The most interesting thing that I see happening in the last few years is people using this, it is what it is. When I first came to this country, 60 years ago, this was never used. It is what it is. But it's actually very good because it is a way of expressing that I can't do anything about it. So people use this as a very fashionable term. It is what it is. And it's nice. They can reconcile to an inevitable situation. This is something new. So similarly here also, I'm stuck on the single jiva. There's nothing, but if I inquire into it, you are first dissected into three jivas. And it is very much like saying that, don't you see, you are seeing yourself in three roles. One is, this is a play number one, play number two, play number three. And if you are in multiple roles, then isn't it clear to you that you cannot be just one of the roles? It's just an assumed role? So you start to thinking, yes, that's a possibility. Therefore, you are really none of the three roles. So this is exactly what this is being saying. He says, how can jiva be Brahman? How can you be bereft of the three jivas? How can be no jiva at all? So, Swamiji says, to answer this, the author says, we have to inquire into the true nature of this jiva who is thought to be limited. We have to determine whether or not this limitation is real. The next verse tells us that. So with that, let's read verse number 33. Avachchedah kalpitah syat avachchedyam tu vastavam tasmin jivatvam aropat brahmatvam na swabhavatah. So he says, avachchedah. So as we saw the avachcheda from the last one, this means a condition, a limitation. So is kalpitaha is not real, it is projected. It is imagined. Avachchedyam. There is an avachcheda and avachchedyam. Avachchedyam means upon which the limitation is projected. Is vastavam, is the truth. Tasmin jivatvam, the status of the jiva, because of being kalpitaha, is really brahmatvam, the nature of Brahma, which is swabhavataha, which is its very own nature. Doing a lot of technical things here, but eventually it says that, I'll read the English translation, the limitation is imagined, but the sakshi, the pure awareness upon which the limitation is projected, is the truth. Therefore, the status of sakshi as the jiva occurs due to projection, due to superimposition, whereas its nature as Brahman is innate, its swarupa. So here, the word swabhava, so sometimes we have to see the context of it. So I think in some of the previous classes we had seen the distinction between swarupa and swabhava. If you recall, swarupa was the person and swabhava was the personality. Right? Here the word swabhava is used as a swarupa. It just depends on the context. It's not as though it's wrong. So here means that something which is intrinsic. So here the word swabhava is taken as intrinsicness. So he says this is the reason why the jiva is really not a real jiva. It is really just Brahman itself, and the sense of jivatvam is imagined. This takes it is theoretically understandable, but to understand it as really applying to myself takes some study, some practice, some shraddha, lot of but that is the truth. We will not tell you something which is not truthful, because it has been explored and confirmed by all the wise people. This is exactly what is going on. That you have layers and layers of wrong notions about yourself, and it's going to take a little bit of work to remove the vestiges, which is called vasanas, of this wrong notion. But the fact is that it is a wrong notion, and the more you inquire in, this is what Brahma is, as we were talking about it. Right now it looks very vague. Oh, really? Is that not true? I don't know about that. But if you keep inquiring it, go a little closer to it, you find it is airtight. You cannot shake it. If you want to just go around and just say, well, I don't understand it yet, I'll do it later. Fine, do it later. but the fact will remain the fact. And the freedom comes in when you understand this as in your own experience, that this is really the case. So that's the sense of those two sentences, those two verses. And there is nothing new that I have given you. This is something already been discussed in the last 31 verses. And so there is no new information, but just another way of looking at it. That's all. So with that, I will pause. Let's see, what time is it? 10:35. Okay, so I think we will do now meditation, and let us do that. So before we begin the meditation, just as a summary, what we have seen in the past is that we in Vedanta, we look upon the practice of meditation in two parts, as you know. So one is just the preparation, and this is what could be called dhyanam, and the preparation for the real meditation, which is called nididhyasanam. And so those are the two segments that we should be very clear about. So the preparation is simply to get your mind ready for meditating upon the truth as explained by the Shastra, by the scriptures. So the ability to see the vision of the Shastra is the intent of nididhyasana. That's the real meditation. And so the ending of the preparation, the goal of preparation is not to eliminate thinking. This is an important thing in the Vedantic way of looking at it. Is not to eliminate thinking, but to make the thinking suitable to the subtlety of the Vedantic thoughts. That's the difference. And so the preparation, the steps of the preparation are all designed to quieten the mind and to make it more pliable and more subtle, so that it is suitable for the subtle discovery of the self in thoughts. It will be in thoughts with the help of the Vedantic scripture, scriptural vision, you might say. So these are the two things, preparation and the real thing. So in the preparation, we can have different ways of doing preparation, but we have found, at least in our sampradaya, some simple steps that you need to do in order to achieve the end of the preparation. And we've already gone through quite a few of them. Today I will mention a couple of them, and we will maybe do a very short practice of the new ones that I will talk about today. Then, time permitting, we will do some nididhyasanam and continue on that nididhyasanam for next week. So this is how the program is going to go. So in terms of the preparation, what I have done is, one is sankalpa, The next one is asanam. The third one was a following my common sense organ, which is sparsha, which is the sense of touch. The fourth one is to go over the state of the body in a very structured manner, like a mental massage. That was number 4. The fifth one that we did last week was a preliminary pranayama called Nadi Shuddhi. This is the number 5. There are 2 more. One of them is watching your thoughts. And here I will just briefly mention that the watching of the thought should be done very briefly, because the mind's role in nididhyasanam will come in nididhyasanam. So you don't have to spend a lot of time in watching the thoughts, but some preliminary watching of the thoughts in the following manner, which I'm going to describe, is helpful during the preparation. But the bulk of the mental role will come in nididhyasana itself. So unless you are only doing dhyanam and not doing nididhyasanam, you don't have to do this step very much. So that step is closing your eyes and simply letting your thoughts go. You will see that thoughts are coming to you. And I think the useful thing at this stage is to see what type of thoughts are coming to you. There are 3 thoughts, 3 windows. It's almost like, you're sitting in a room and thoughts are coming in through 3 windows in the room. One window is thoughts pertaining to the past. One window is thoughts pertaining to the present, and the third window is the thoughts pertaining to the future. And simply just identifying these 3 is enough. So this is what we say, that this observation of the thoughts doesn't have to be very protracted, but it just helps to collect your thoughts, just like the other steps also were there to collect your thoughts. Similarly, the observation of the thoughts itself is a way for you to collect the thoughts reasonably. There is no such thing as a perfect preparation. It just needs to be somewhat effective, and then you move into nididhyasana. This is the whole thinking. So this is why the words like concentration and so on are not in our vocabulary. Our acharyas have said that that is not helpful, because you give some additional tension to yourself, that you are concentrating and you're not able to concentrate, I'm no good, what do I have to do? All of that is unnecessary. Instead, there should be a natural absorption. Swami Viditatmananda was the one who really pointed this out very well. He said that, if you observe, if you send somebody to a bank in India, you have some domestic help, and you say, can you please go to the bank and give me some change? So you get everything it's in 100 rupee notes, and you have to buy maybe 5,000 rupees worth of 100 rupee notes. And so when you go there, the person's, checks this off of the account and hands you this bunch of 100 rupee notes amounting to 5,000 rupees. And of course, you are supposed to check it right there with your hand. So Swamiji says, you don't have to tell this person to concentrate, because he knows that if he doesn't count properly, he would lose. So even though there is noises going around and this, that, or the other, you can tell the person, can I just do that right here? And he says, yes, please do it. 1, 2, 3, like this, all the way up to 50 he has to do. He's completely absorbed. No other thoughts are coming in. He doesn't have to say concentrate, concentrate, concentrate. It is very natural. Similarly, when there is a youngster who's reading a very interesting book, he doesn't have to concentrate. It is so interesting that he's totally absorbed in the study. In fact, many times the parents will say, hey, you want to come over here and the person is not listening because the mind is so absorbed in. That's the idea. So here, to come back to the observation of the mind, you simply, if you want to, by the way, none of these steps have to be done always. These are kind of like aids to preparation, and sometimes you can do one or the other. There are different tools that you have. All the tools don't have to be used all the time. So in this case, you simply watch the mind and simply identify what is the trend of your thoughts. If your thoughts have to do with regrets, it is the thought of the past. If your thoughts are talking about fears, anticipation, the thoughts are of the future. Or if your thoughts are talking about botheration generally right now, they are the thoughts of the present. Noises, thoughts about a person, and so on. And just looking at this from the perspective of a person having 3 open windows, you can even close the windows. As part of the sankalpa that we saw, you can tell your mind, not right now. And go on. So this is the 6th case of the steps of the preparation, and I will tell you the 7th case of the preparation next time, which is the last one. So with that, let us do a very short Nididhyasanam. It cannot be very long because of the time limitation, but let's do some of that. Excuse me. Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Nilakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. we saw earlier in the last meditation the meaning of the fifth verse. Na udeti na astameti esha na vriddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhati yatha anyani sadhanam vina. That the Sakshi, the Chit, my real nature, na udeti na astameti, I do not begin, I have no beginning, and therefore no ending. Only a thing that begins can end. If it does not even begin, meaning it always is. Then, by the virtue of that fact, there is no possibility of it ending. So this is Jivatma. This is the Paramarthika Sat that we just saw. The Jivatma like space, even subtler than space, more prevalent than space, because the space disappears in deep sleep. The space is also a mental concept. But the space does not have a beginning or an ending. A room space may have a beginning or an ending, but not space. Even more than that is the Jivatma. Because the space also is an awareness, a concept in awareness. It's a concept that requires Jivatma. Atma is the awareness. And see that the Atma, the Jivatma, is always there. The notion that I had a birth is only due to the perceived contact with this body. Like a space can only become a room space when the walls are structured, are put together. There is no real birth for the space. Similarly, there is no birth for the Jivatma. Before the Jiva, it was just Atma. Always has been, always will be. But the result of not knowing that I am birthless and deathless my sense of limitation is born. That sense of limitation does have a beginning. And it has an end. So a Jivatma appears to be born. And becomes vulnerable to change, to even death. So the key here is to understand that the Jivatma is a temporary imposition. It's a notion. It is not the ultimate truth. The truth of the Jivatma is just Atma. That Atma is the same as Brahman. Just like there is a single space in the entire universe, there is a single Atma in the whole universe, and that is Brahman. This is explained in verse number 20. Verse number 5. Na udeti na astameti esha was introducing the Jivatma. Verse number 20 makes it clear that the Jivatma is nothing but Atma, the Brahman. Asti bhati priyam rupam. We will go over this meaning of the verse 20 in a meditation in the next class. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Shyate. Good to see you all. Sam, how are you doing? I saw you, I sent you an email. Hope you guys in Texas are doing okay. It is such a, just an amazing devastation of normal life you must have gone through. So I hope you're doing all right, and all the best wishes to you. So good to see you all. I don't see any questions per se, but if you have any, please send me an email. I'll be happy to answer that. Until then, Sam, okay, good. And I'm only good, only last power for 12 hours on Wednesday. Well, that's good. I just talked to a couple of the students in the other class, and they went through the whole thing. 1 week of no power, and now 3 days of no water. So compared to that, you did okay. Good. Stay well, and we will see you next week. Om.